Ladies and gentlemen, Frank Holmes.
So I have many, many slides, and so I want you all to pay attention because there's an exam at the end. But I want to walk through my journey of trying to launch a product in the blockchain technology world, which is a transformational piece of technology, and the discovery of what Bitcoin is. And Bitcoin to me is what email is to the internet. Bitcoin is to blockchain. It's how people are discovering the significance of blockchain. So in this journey, I learned about ICOs, and I learned from my son and my godson, who at the age of 28 had made $20 million trading ICOs. And I was really quite impressed with this whole world, how fast it was going. So in that journey, I went to New York City to what's called Consensus. And right now there's a conference in New York City called, their second part for this year, of Consensus. And it would be packed by an audience of half the age and probably 5 times more. This is blockchain, ICO, and this is where things are going, and I want to try for you to understand that it's demographics, that there are more millennials than there are baby boomers. And that millennials have a thing called an app called Tinder. And that's immediate dating, immediate. And they do not have the patience to wait 2 days to open up a brokerage account or a bank account. They can open up an app that allows them to move $5,000 in 5 minutes to buy Bitcoin. And they can do this at Coinbase. So this world is changing, and I was just amazed to see the numbers that was going into crowdfunding. And that's outside of the regulatory world. So I believe it's demographics, I believe it's suffocating regulations, has created this dark pool that's gone into crowdfunding that's outside of the normal realm of where people look for money today and here. It is so much bigger than I ever thought. And so on that journey of research, it was calculated that $50 billion was raised last year in different forms of crowdfunding. I was at an angel investing where people go up and they have 10 slides, 1-page document. They raise $10 million for their patents, and at the back of the room are the lawyers and accountants papering the documentation. Very different than the costs or risks of having $500,000 in a prospectus, going around and shopping around looking for money. It has reversed itself. And it's to try to understand that this idea of the ICO, this year, there's been over 2,000 new ICOs, initial coin offerings, not IPOs. And that's very profound and significant in the formation of capital. And it happens outside of this room, it happens outside of the regulatory world. That I met a young person 2 weeks ago in London, in Hong Kong, was originally from London, and he has a patent on a model that looks at all credit investors and the different rules in each country, and he's able to raise $200 million by not touching anyone that's retail. They only can be accredited, and he launched the funding for the largest exchange in America. Raised $200 million with a 5% fee going in and going out. Nothing in this room. Nothing. It's a complete different world. So I hope that you walk and listen here. I've got 2 videos for you to watch. I spend 4 hours to help you understand blockchain in 1 minute and Bitcoin in 1 minute, and then explain to you crypto mining, which is a company which I'm the chairman of, and I put $5 million into, and within 3 days, that $5 million had gone to $30 million valuation, and we had institutions coming in to make substantial investments into Hive. And today, it's almost $1 billion market cap. And then to give you an idea in this cryptocurrency world, where can you raise $75 million and 6 months later, you'll have free cash flow at $25 million? It's unheard of. And it's basically, how can this success be? What drives it? Hopefully everyone in this room can get an appreciation for this big change. So the IPO market is shrinking. There's 50% less public companies in America. There are more indices than there are public companies. There's a 75% drop in IPOs. The average IPO in 1996 was $80 million. Now it has to be $300 million to deal with the cost and the structure and the regulatory and all the pre-clearances, etc. It's such a prohibitive transaction. And this sort of pushes out and creates what's called dark pools of capital outside of the regulatory world. And it, to me, is very significant of where money is going. So what is an ICO? It's an initial coin offering. And can it be the solution for a lot of junior mining companies? Well, there is something happening. I was talking to Rick Rule last week in Vancouver, and in 3 weeks, there was 550 people to this presentation on cryptocurrency. It took 3 weeks of marketing. It's unheard of. Why? What was the interest? And what he was saying and noting was that most of his new investors are coming from the Silicon Valley area. And there's what's called in the music world the great crossover. Can you turn around and take industry from country and western music over to rock and roll, or rock and roll over to country and western? You create much greater economic pie. And so what you're seeing is that my godson, who went out and raised $30 million in 3 days, and it was only accept Ethereum, and the Ethereum coins were then cleansed and put into cash, US dollars, which they'll invest in new ICOs. 3 days. And then he spends his $600,000 on the prospectus and documentation. That's how that market is changing. So how do you turn around? There is money, and there is Bitcoins and Ethereum out there that will make that transformation, because it's happening in the capital markets today. So money flows towards most respected, they say. Well, there's also this millennials are adventuresome investors, just like they are in junior mining, junior exploration, and junior technology. And they look at ICOs and the new idea of a coin. And right now you have a battle in the U.S. between the SEC, who wants to make all of them into securities to regulate, because they basically, remember I said earlier that there's 50% less public companies and there's a 75% drop in IPOs. What are you going to do with all those regulators? So you have to find something else to regulate. And that shift is important to recognize. That happens with FINRA. It doesn't matter where, over here in Europe, it's the same thing. So with that, you have the CME, and they're interested in calling it a commodity or a currency. And you have another agency that would like to call it an asset. And the IRS has deemed it to be an asset so they can tax it. So it's recognizing that you have the debate going on, but it doesn't matter, because you have had $3 billion go into creating 2,000 new coins. And the numbers are staggering, because Genesis Mining, who is the largest private company in the world that allow you to go mining on the cloud, we started 4 years ago with no money from anyone but 3 guys. 2 are mathematicians. And today it does $1.5 billion in revenue. And they have 50,000 new accounts a day coming in. And Coinbase out of San Francisco has 50,000. In fact, I'll show you a slide, 100,000 new accounts in one day. So there is something that's happening in those capital markets, and there's a new drive for growth and opportunity. And then you also find that there's more buy Bitcoin than there is to go and buy gold on online Google searches. I'm going to go back there. So what is blockchain technology? Can you start the video, please?
When you vote, have you ever wondered whether your ballot is actually counted? If you meet someone online, how do you know they're who they say they are? When you buy coffee that's labeled fair trade, what makes you so certain of its origin? To be sure, really sure, about any of those questions, you'd need a system where records could be stored, facts could be verified by anyone, and security is guaranteed. That way, no one could cheat the system by editing records, because everyone using the system would be watching. Systems like this are on the horizon, and the software that powers them is called a blockchain. Blockchains store information across a network of personal computers, making them not just decentralized, but distributed. This means no central company or person owns the system, yet everyone can use it and help run it. This is important because it means it's difficult for any one person to take down the network or corrupt it. The people who run the system use their computer to hold bundles of records submitted by others, known as blocks, in a chronological chain. The blockchain uses a form of math called cryptography to ensure that records can't be counterfeited or changed by anyone else. You've probably heard of the blockchain's first killer app, a form of digital cash called Bitcoin that you can send to anyone, even a complete stranger. Bitcoin is different from credit cards, PayPal, or other ways to send money because there isn't a bank or financial middleman involved. Instead, people from all over the world help move the digital money by validating others' Bitcoin transactions with their personal computers, earning a small fee in the process. Bitcoin uses the blockchain by tracking records of ownership over this digital cash, so only one person can be the owner at a time and the cash can't be spent twice, like counterfeit money in the physical world can. But Bitcoin is just the beginning for blockchains. In the future, blockchains that manage and verify online data could enable us to launch companies that are entirely run by algorithms, making self-driving cars safer, help us protect our online identities, and even track the billions of devices on the Internet of Things. These innovations will change our lives forever, and it's all just beginning.
So financial institutions have filed 2,700 patents. Interesting, Fidelity, who's such a leader in this space, has 2,000 employees that are dedicated. And all the employees at Fidelity have access to have Bitcoins and have a wallet. Fidelity's always prided themselves in being leaders in innovation and technology to stay competitive. It was a real shocker for me to go to this conference in New York and Consensus to have the CEO of Fidelity give a speech to a cryptocurrency and doesn't speak at investment conferences. But here she's speaking about their leadership and where they see blockchain going and the significance of it. So now why is Bitcoin $10,000 and some are saying it's going to $40,000? There's a law, there's two laws, you can look them up, Metcalfe's law and the other one's called Reed's law. Metcalfe was a person that basically noticed that as more people use a cable service or a mobile service, that the value goes up geometrically, that's exponentially. So as we have 50,000 people a day coming in to mine for coins, and you have 50,000 people coming in a day to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum, therefore you're going to have an exponential increase in the underlying currency. And right now there's only about 10 million Bitcoins that are out there in the marketplace, and you have 50,000 people a day coming in to try to buy them. So what do you think that's going to do? And it's going up geometrically, and that explains it. Much cheaper than an ounce of gold. To get 1/10 of an ounce of gold or 1/30 of an ounce of gold is very expensive. But when it comes to Bitcoin or Ethereum, you get fractals, and you can take this your phone, your smartphone, and pay for anything you want. This is the big revolution that's taking place. And it's amazing to see how many financial institutions are moving. In fact, when I was launching my GoAU Gold Equity, I mentioned yesterday, Smart Beta ETF, the New York Stock Exchange informed me that they had invested in Coinbase in 2015. The valuation was $75 million. 2 weeks ago, it was valued at $1.7 billion. And then I found out that USAA up the street, which is the largest military insurance company in the world, they had also invested in Coinbase. And Coinbase is, now today, you can open an account at Coinbase and it will show up at your investment account at Fidelity or it will show up at USAA. When I discovered this in May, I said something else is bigger is happening. And
what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is the first decentralized digital currency. Bitcoins are digital coins you can send through the internet. Compared to other alternatives, Bitcoins have a number of advantages. Bitcoins are transferred directly from person to person via the net, without going through a bank or clearinghouse. This means that the fees are much lower. You can use them in every country. Your account cannot be frozen, and there are no prerequisites or arbitrary limits. Let's look at how it works. Several currency exchanges exist where you can buy and sell Bitcoins for dollars, euros, and more. Your Bitcoins are kept in your digital wallet on your computer or mobile device. Sending Bitcoins is as simple as sending an email, and you can purchase anything with Bitcoin. The Bitcoin network is secured by individuals called miners. Miners are rewarded newly generated Bitcoins for verifying transactions. After transactions are verified, they are recorded in a transparent public ledger. Bitcoin opens up a whole new platform for innovation. The software is completely open source and anyone can review the code. Bitcoin is changing finance the same way the web changed publishing. When everyone has access to a global market, great ideas flourish. Bitcoins are a great way for businesses to minimize transaction fees. It doesn't cost anything to start accepting them, and it's easy to set up. There are no chargebacks, and you'll get additional business from the Bitcoin economy.
So the Bitcoin economy is growing rapidly. And you can see here, this is an article of Fidelity, that spoke at the conference, Abigail Johnson, who is a remarkable leader, and especially when it comes to technology. And with that, to me, it was shocking that so many friends never saw this article. It's almost like they read the Wall Street Journal and they glazed over that this is something big and phenomenal is happening. But you can turn around and use Bitcoin today to buy a Tesla, Dell computer, Starbucks, Microsoft, and it goes on. Bloomberg services. A lot of people don't realize that how easy it is and functional it is to use Bitcoin and Ethereum. So here's the accounts. If you want to have if you have an account at USAA or you have an account at Fidelity, and your wallet will show up, there's your assets besides your mutual funds, your ETFs, or your stocks and bonds, etc. There is your investments in Bitcoin or Ethereum. So one of the biggest Bitcoin, which I mentioned earlier, has opened 100,000 accounts in one day. That made a lot of publicity. And then there's the Wipler's website. It's so simple, and they tell you the dollar value all day long. And these currencies trade 24/7, and that's why the New York Stock Exchange was worried, because everyone will get their public company listed on these exchanges, and you won't have to worry that it trades 24/7. And then a couple of weeks ago, there was a home sold in Dallas. No, it was in Houston, and it was for $2.5 million, and the transaction was done with Bitcoins. So what is a miner?
Are the Swiss Army knife of the blockchain technology. We can mine any coin that's happening on the blockchain market and any coin that's coming up in the future. So in order to participate, you need GPUs, and we're doing this massive build-up of GPUs for the altcoin market. My name is Stefan Schindler. I'm the CTO representing Genesis Mining, and we're here once more in Iceland, expanding our mining operation. When the network started, everything was about doing this type of calculation on your processor of your computer, but soon enough somebody found out actually graphic cards are better in doing these kinds of operations. They're more efficient, which means they can do more transactions or more calculations with less power. And that's the reason why we are building out so many GPUs. GPUs means graphics cards. A mining rig is basically a computer, but it's stripped down to the minimum in terms of computing and up to the maximum in terms of mining.
So there's the CEO. You go to TEDx and watch Marco Streng give his 18-minute presentation. Wonderful, humble person. He's 28 years old. He's a billionaire, like his other two partners, each of them. And they have these incredible margins on how they function, that he runs this whole company, and I've traveled with him now on a smartphone of 800 people. So we started this company when I found that Genesis would be the partner. They own 30% of the company, and so that made it very easy for me to put up the money and put up capital to go on as a chairman, to be in this sort of blockchain, because I couldn't launch a product. I went to the OSC, I went to the SEC, trying to launch something in this space, and all it was like driving down a cul-de-sac. And so fortunately, I've been doing this research, and Frank Juster calls me and said, my young guys have this opportunity, do you know anything about it? And this is where luck comes in, the tacit knowledge and the explicit knowledge. The explicit knowledge of trying to learn something, the tacit knowledge of going to these conferences like you're all here today. And to me, the libertarians are the ones that dominate this whole new breakthrough in technology. And it's understanding that, and I said, okay, I'm in. And I was the first major institutional investor. 3 days later, the stock traded from 30 cents to $1.50. Then $2, and then immediately we had institutions coming in, and Fidelity became the largest shareholder institutionally, because the CEO has had all the employees embrace blockchain technology and understand how Bitcoin, Ethereum work. So that's the competitive advantage that Fidelity enjoys. So with that,
the global financial
what is
system
Hive?
faces mounting risk, reliance on intermediaries, and grinding friction. New technology has emerged to resolve some of the tensions in this legacy system. Blockchain protocols like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other cryptocurrencies offer a secure way to transact without the need for middlemen. Those who understand the potential of these technologies are creating new business platforms and winning first-mover advantages. Until now, the complexity of cryptocurrencies has deterred traditional investors from gaining exposure to blockchain's potential. Hive, one of the first crypto companies to list on a major stock exchange, offers direct exposure to the crypto economy and its huge growth opportunities. Like precious metals, cryptocurrencies are also mined, requiring high-performance computing and massive amounts of energy. Miners provide the computational power necessary to verify the complex encryption and safety methods that blockchain networks require, in exchange for rewards paid in cryptocurrency. Hive will provide this at industrial scales. By combining the ingenuity of Genesis Mining, one of the world's most successful crypto mining companies, with the capital markets expertise of Fiore Group, a prominent merchant bank behind some of the largest metal mining companies. Hive's goal is to build a global leader in crypto mining and establish a solid platform to launch other related businesses. Hive provides shareholders exposure to both cash flow from an operating crypto mining business, as well as a growing portfolio of cryptocurrencies generated from mining activities. Hive is uniquely positioned to accelerate the development of this explosive sector and to create long-lasting shareholder value. Hive Blockchain, listed as Hive on the TSXV.
So what drives my thought process is valuations, and it's so overvalued if you're a value investor, Hive is. But so is Tesla. But Tesla trades at 6 times cash flow per share. Sales per share. General Motors is 0.6. Whenever you enjoy first mover advantage, then you get these incredible valuations. And the last time I had this feeling was Silver Wheaton, was the creation of Silver Wheaton, which for $3 million of $30 million of $300 million. And today Silver Wheaton enjoys the highest revenue per employee of a public company in the world. You get where there's something unique and special. And I think that this world of blockchain, and anyone that's involved with it, if you have old mines, that you have cheap electricity and energy, then this is an opportunity to participate in the mining of these currencies. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and happy investing.